I want to welcome you at our event, which is called Children Therapy, How to Talk to Children About War. And I'm Yulia Kozlovets. I'm director of the International Book Arsenal Festival from Kyiv, Ukraine. And we are organizing this event as Mistetsky Arsenal, the organizer of our festival, together with Goethe Institute Ukraine in frames of the Ukrainian presence in Frankfurt Book Fair. And this event is entitled to talk about reading with kids and about books for kids and about the fact that our kids today are living in very, very difficult circumstances and not always the complicated topics are could be found by kids only at books. Very usually the complicated topics are part of their reality. So we want to talk today about the books which can help kids, which can educate kids, which can turn over attention of kids, and what the book could be when the kid is living their life today in a very, very complicated world. And I want you to introduce you our speakers. Near me, I have Anna Sarvira, who is illustrator and graphic designer. Anna lives now in Köln, and originally she's from Ukraine, and she's one of the prominent and best-known designers and book illustrators from Ukraine.
Hi.
And also our second speaker is Olga Popovich. Olga is founder of the publishing house Kalamar, and Olga is director in this publishing house, especially issuing the books dedicated to the complicated topics, to the emotional intellect. And Olga is alumni of the special program for publishers from Ukraine and neighboring countries, which is organized by Frankfurt Buchmesse and Book Arsenal Festival together with Goethe Institute Ukraine. So I want to...
Nice to meet everybody.
Yeah, thank you. So I want to address my first question to both of you. And actually, let's start from some maybe personal experience and transport it to the experience of kids, which you can reflect. How your life, personal life, depends on use. How your personal and professional activity is changing in connection with the news which you're reading in the newspaper, seeing at TV. Ukraine is now living in the war, so news are very, very important for us. But we are still working. We are producing a lot of cultural products. We are publishing books, we are writing books, we are illustrating books. So we are still working, and in the circumstances which are far from normal. Our adults are living in war, and our kids are living in war. So how your own personal life and professional life has changed, Anna?
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely. It's not easy to handle, and since the full scale was started, I remember that first year I don't really clearly remember it, and I was drawing only the war, so it was like war, and I also remember that I couldn't work with the books for kids because I realized I have so much pain and so much hate inside of me that I realized, okay, I'm only drawing for grown-ups, and now it's definitely better because unfortunately you are getting used to the war, but also because I'm always saying that I'm more privileged than a lot of Ukrainians. I'm living in Germany now, so I don't have so much pressure. I'm not scared of getting a missile in my house, but yeah, so I'm still working. I think 90 or 80% of my works are about the war, and I think this year I finally started to draw something for the kids because I realized I have something to say. I can say it calmly, and I won't traumatize kids by drawing something terrible that I actually saw on the news, because for me it was very hard to handle. And for example, by thinking about what I did last year, I realized that I regret drawing some things and some topics I did that because I realized that these things can traumatize people more than they are already. So
Thank you, Ola.
I already gave the example of my personal life, how I'm handling this terrible news and the situation. And we have some panel already a couple of days ago. I gave some example. I maybe give you one more time. It was beginning of the March 2022 when we were completely sitting in some disordered situation. We couldn't understand what is going on and what will happen in the few hours, not even in the few days. And everybody was frustrated, and especially if you're talking about the business and the publishing house business, it was completely unclear what we're gonna do. And it was even completely unclear if you will be alive next day. And then day by day, when we realized the army really protecting the country, when we realize the people are fighting and we are still strong and we survive within these 3-4 days and over, we got one letter from the small yoga studio in the western part of Ukraine, and they was writing to us that they have kids who came from the occupied territory with their families and was living in that small town, and this yoga studio decided to organize some lessons for them for free. And on top of that, they decided to make the reading for them. And since our publishing house, one of the mainstream of the making the books, it's like printing and making the books about the emotions, they asked us to give them these kind of books. And it was so amazing when they sent us later on the video showing how they were reading together these books, how they were trying to explain how through the characters describe it in the books they can overcome the angriness, the sadness, some terrible situation, how the books can teach kids how to make and improve the self-confidence, and etc., etc. And it gave us so big power and the energy and understanding that we are alive and we can continue, and that it was clear understanding that the books really matters and really helps.
Thank you, Ola. It's really inspiring. This experience is really inspiring and giving some more things to think about. Yeah, some more ideas to think about and to work on. Let's continue on the what you were talking about. That what are your observations of how the demand for books is changing? How the request from maybe not only kids but families, parents is changed. I have my own ideas on what's going on right now after we have held the Book Arsenal Festival this year. It was in June of this year. We had also the program for kids and teens as usual, and they were changing in how families were doing the festivaling. They were looking for very, very different books. We were ready that they will ask for books about the complicated topics, but it was not the only their interest. They were asking about books about joy, for books about a lot of happiness. They were asking whether there will be the happy end. Books where kids were also looking for adventures, for a lot of very, very usual things. Living in trauma today, living in the stressful situation today, having the air sirenas almost every day in June. We have this situation in Kiev. Kids were looking for joy in books. So what are your observations? What is changing? I think that we need maybe very, very different books even now when we are living in war.
Yeah, definitely. And I actually realized it myself because there are very different aspects of how and what to talk about with the kids. So I don't have kids on my own, but I have my nephew who is 6 and he lives here in Germany. And for example, for him, it was very hard to understand why is he here. So like explanatory books are always welcomed because also the parents are so under such a stress. So sometimes they cannot find the words to talk about the war. And here the books are very welcomed. From the other side, I actually, in the beginning when we were discussing this discussion, I told you that I didn't do like lately books for the kids about the war, but actually I forgot that I did. And it was the book for European kids, how to actually understand who are like these Ukrainian kids who are coming to this school, to their schools. And I have a lot of friends here in Germany who are asking me, how should I explain my kid, like how to talk to Ukrainian kids, because they have some in school and we don't know what to do. And actually, I did a book for European Commission program for these kids. So it was an explanatory book that some kids from Ukraine might be witnessing terrible things. So you have to be like very attentive, how you should help them and so on. So it's a very nice topic. So not only Ukrainian kids actually need these books, but everybody else, because it's a huge thing now in the whole world.
Absolutely, I can agree. And not only Ukrainian kids are living in war. This is also a reality. Yes. So here we are sharing our experience, which is one of the most, strong now. Ola, I want to ask you also to tell a bit more from the perspective of the publisher. Maybe you can share what is the situation from the side of publishers' side.
What kind the situation we are living, how we are working, what are the changes?
Yeah, for the demands and for the requests.
Of course, the industry is impacted by the war a lot. Of course, the readers and the kids with the families moved through the country and out of the country, and it's impacted the industry a lot. You know that the Kharkiv region, it was like called in the past the capital of the printing area of Ukraine. They are under daily attack. You can even saw in the news that there is a terrible accident in the
even today. Yes,
it was today. Yes. So and they have big facilities for the making the high quality board book, which, for example, none of other printing factories through the Ukraine can do it. So we are still continuing. We are supporting our publishing factories and this industry by making the order in Ukrainian publishing factories, supporting them economically in this way. Of course, it's tough. Last winter was terrible because of this lockdown and because of lack of electricity and the internet and whatever. And we were personally, our staff of our offices sitting in the Kyiv, but sometimes it was quite challenging to work because we sometimes had to change the location 3 or 4 times per day, moving from office to office, trying to catch the electricity and Wi-Fi. So, but we are quite angry at the moment in the positive way. I mean, that it gives us some power and the strength not to give up. So we continue because otherwise there is no other choice to do.
Yes, thank you. And so what are the new books which you are preparing? Probably you're going with the inquiries from the families, from your experience of talking to kids and families, of working with them. What are the new books which you are going to publish? Are they about war? How you are changing the topics? What are you thinking about? What are your new expectations?
In the past, we acquired a lot of rights from our friends, especially when I talked about these books about the emotional intelligence. It was worked very well and helped a lot to our kids. But now we start thinking about that what kind of Ukrainian books should be at the moment. What can we prepare by us with our Ukrainian writers and illustrators? How to show that the Ukrainian people and Ukrainian kids can have similar challenge. Let's say this way, challenges. Yes, our kids are living in Ukraine, living in the terrible situation. But if we will come to their feelings they have, all of them who moved from the town to town or who actually left their home they have a feeling that they want to be back home. But it is very similar to the kids somewhere in the other countries when they have to change the school, or parents had the new job and should move from the country to country, or their kids should change their, or if the parents is divorced and they feeling that they are alone, etc., etc. So we got this year. Our publishing house got the mail from the very famous Ukrainian writers, which is Slava Svitova. She made a lot of books for kids, and the name of the book is actually, I have some dummy with me, I will show you. The button who wanted to come back home. So there is no single word about the war or some terrible events or something. This is a story about the little button who was stick to the jacket of the small girl, and then the button felt some mess is going on, and everybody is running somewhere, and one day he just lost, and he was traveling from pocket to pocket, from the one person to another one, and he understood he never heard the Ukrainian languages I used to hear, and he was so scary, and they had only one feeling: he wanted to be back home, until he found himself in some nice shop with another buttons who was speaking to him in some strange languages. Some of them didn't accept him, some of them become a friend with him, and finally one day he heard the language. The girl who came to this shop was talking to the mom, saying like, "Mom, look, there is a button which reminds me home very well, let's take it." And then the button start crying happy tears, understanding that he become a home for someone else. So, and we just found this story is very international and similar to the feeling of the other kids who can experience something, not the war, but some events which can happen in their lives with the similar feelings. So the picture, the wording, it's everything about the feelings of this small character. And yes, we spoke to different people abroad, and we understand that the kids, sometimes it's quite scary if we start talking about them, their terrible war events or something like that. So it should be done very gently in terms of the illustration, in terms of the wording. So I hope we did it. So we just presented this book on the Frankfurt the book fairs. Let's see how it will go. But the only message what we try to put in the books, the feelings of the kids, it's very international and common. Doesn't matter where the kids lives.
Thank you. Thank you. And we are now can jump to the illustration. Exactly the right moment, Anya. How can illustration contribute, and how it can help? And illustration is the international language. So maybe you can share some experience or some your ideas how the illustration can take the lead in communicating complex topics. What is your experience in illustration, the complicated topics? Or
yeah, we always say that illustration actually nowadays is very easy to talk, language to communicate with everybody, because you don't need the translation. And also it's very easy to talk, not easy, but easier to talk about some difficult topics, because illustration might be metaphoric, very abstract, so you don't have to show directly all the things you're talking about when you're talking about the war, you don't have to show the blood, for example. And it was also the same for the adults. So when we were drawing something, we were always wondering, why do people prefer to do illustration exhibitions rather than the photo exhibitions from Ukraine? or like more often they do that, and then they realize it's too much sometimes. The photos are sometimes too much, so you cannot handle that, but you can like see illustration, and it makes you think about some stuff. Like you can easily show with the colors, with the shapes, something dangerous or something like more warming, and don't put people under more pressure than they already are, and like it's the easy way for like illustrators to show everything they need and emotions they need in the books. So for me it was like, well, it's some easy way to talk about the war, and I think that for children's books is also a very important thing to do. And actually I wanted to add by the very interesting thing I spotted last year about children's books from Ukraine, that they became bilingual. It's something very funny for me, because I worked with bilingual books I think 5 or 6 years ago, and they were like popular but not too much. And last year I realized that everybody's like doing 2 languages, because of a lot of Ukrainian kids are living now abroad, so the parents don't want them to forget Ukrainian language, but they also want them to read in the language of the country they're staying in. And it's very interesting situation for me how the kids are now dealing with all these things, with all these languages.
Thank you.
When Anna was talking, I'm just listening, and it seems that she describes exactly the book, what it is. By the way, I would like to mention that the book was illustrated by very talented Halina Verheles. She is really amazing, and she did amazing job. I can just show you the couple of illustrations just to show the audience how the difficult topics can be illustrated in the ways that it's really cause some very warm feelings, and what kind of metaphor can illustrator can use when they're doing the job.
While Ola is showing us this, I will mention that here in Frankfurt, we also are trying to talk with the language of illustration about the messages which Ukraine wanted to share with the audience of Frankfurt Book Fair. We have organized the exhibition When Everything Matters, together with the Pictoric Club of Illustrators and Book Arsenal Festival. The exhibition was first shown in the Book Arsenal this year, and now it is here in Frankfurt, and it's an exhibition about the times in which we are living now. It's not only about war in Ukraine, but it's about the world in which we have war in Ukraine and other difficult situations besides this. This is an exhibition of illustrators which are depicting the important things for themselves. And now, few words.
There is the end, yes, of the whole book. This is a small button which become actually the whole world for the small kids who finally found him. And when they are united, they really get happy. So this is a feeling of home. Doesn't matter where you're sitting, where you're living, where you have been moved. Very important, and it's about rebuilding the self-confidence of the children who was found themselves in very difficult situation.
Yeah, but it's interesting to see how Ukrainian illustrators are also training to work with this difficult topic, because I think every illustrator I know already worked with that. And one of my favorites, actually Agrafka, when they did this book about the war that changed Rondo, I think 6 years ago already, and they started to talk about that. So they're becoming a profis in working on these difficult topics.
Great. So what are your recommendations? Which book should parents today look for when they are, want to talk to kids who are living in this crazy world?
Okay, so let's put ourselves in the shoes of the kids, okay, that they are living their childhood. The childhood happened to the person once per life, okay? If the kids are living in the difficult situation, of course, they would like to get some piece of joy, some happiness, and whatever, that's clear. That's why it's you mentioned, Yulia, the topics when the people were looking for some books which they would like to relax a little bit. It's very, how to say, understandable. Okay, so I can speak out of my publishing house again, that the books which the parents can read together with the kids about the emotions, how to overcome some difficult time, and how to rebuild, again, I will repeat myself, how to rebuild the self-confidence, now in the great demand, because they all together, even the adults, trying to put themselves back on track and continue living the happy life. These kind of books, what we prepared, it's like, okay, we would like to target our audience and maybe to target the international audience. We would like very much to show that it's not about the war in Ukraine. It's about the feelings of the kids who are living their childhood in the difficult situation. And this situation can happen in every family, in the different, how to say, in the different countries and different pieces of the world. So it's very international topic.
Thank you. Anya,
Yeah.
few recommendations?
Yeah, I would just say that probably, and that's what I'm also missing now, the educational books, maybe for a bit older kids, because I mean, when we are talking about the war, the situation might be very different. But if you're like learning how to fight the disinformation, how to communicate with other kids, it's very important. And actually, the roots of this war are like disinformation, for example. So I guess for the kids, it's important to learn from the like early years, especially in the times of internet and all these things you can get from whatever and from whoever, like how to deal with all these things and how to understand what is okay, what is not, where are your borders, where are the borders of other kids, and that everybody can be very different in a different situation and you can all deal with that.
Thank you. So it was not so long, but interesting event, I guess, an interesting talk about the topic how we adults, how book creators, how publishers, and everybody who work with the kids and who have kids can do together work to empower our kids to become and to grow and to become the global citizens who will probably stay for the value of peace and unity. Thank you for my speakers. Thank you, Anna Sarvira and Olga Popovich. And thank you to Frankfurt Buchmesse for helping us to having this award. Thank you for you being with us.